So, a conversation that I think doesn't happen enough is the difference between a static landscape and a living garden. Garden really is a living, thriving community of plants, and you can see in areas like just this little section of the Steppe Garden here at the Denver Botanic Gardens. We have native plants. There's native penstemons that are finishing up and going to seed. This is penstemon barbatus. We have Retivida columnifera, another native plant, but we also have Arctotis, which is from South Africa. We have Verbena bonariensis, which is from Argentina. So we have these plants that come together and create a much more biodiverse area. If this area strictly had only the native plants, we wouldn't have the blooms on it. We're extending our season of native plants with these exotics, with these introduced things. So we're giving more opportunity for pollinators to forage, to feed, to have habitat, and to have plants that they can interact with and live off of for a much longer period of time. In our urban settings, we've come and scraped and wiped clean any habitat and any growth that was there, say, before humans came and interacted with that space. So we now have to recreate and put something back. We've got concrete walkways, we've got water features, we've got all of these things that come in and around us and our homes and our buildings that aren't native and aren't supposed to be there. So by using natives as a framework and then planting plants from similar regions that can extend the season of what a native plant would normally do, we're creating a much higher biodiverse region and area. We're creating opportunity for native pollinators, for non-native honeybees, for all of those things that we talk about in the ecology of a place and why it's important for these things to interact. We have, in areas like this, great coverage. So there's a lot of material covering the surface of the ground. So you have less opportunities for weeds to come in. Don't get me wrong, we still get weeds in here. We volunteer, but we're creating the space and we're maintaining the space. So we're actively engaged in this part of a living garden. In a static landscape, you design it in a way that you don't have to interact with it. You don't have to be a part of the garden or a part of the environment. You put down a monoculture crop, turf grass, a shrub border with rock, and then you ignore it and you leave it. So you're not creating habitat, you're not creating ecological systems that work with honeybees, that work with native flies, that work with hummingbirds, that work with moths. You're just creating something that fills a space. In a garden, you're creating a living system that needs to be interacted with. And here, just in this section, some of the plant select plants we have. This is Geranium magniflorum, Levitalace. This is from South Africa. Wonderful ground cover, beautiful texture, but you can see it allows other plants to come and grow through it. This Penstemon barbatus is coming right up through the middle of this Geranium magniflorum. Right next to it, we have Chrysothamnus, which is another one of our Colorado natives. That's the baby blue rabbit brush. And that provides, it's just starting to bud up now, so that will be blooming later. But until between when this penstemon that's clearly done and that one, that Chrysothamnus, will start blooming, we have South African daisies. This is Arctotis. And being an aster, a lot of the generalist pollinators and things will go and seek out these asters. The long tubes on this verbena in here are great for pollinators with long feeding mouths. So this is great for moths. You even see hummingbirds come to these sometimes to look for nectar. I don't don't think hummingbirds get much out of it, but I see them coming up to them. But the hummingbirds do love this Leonotus, long tubes, and they can get in there and get the nectar. So there's food source for a lot of different things, but it also creates, aesthetically, we have bold silver shapes, we have fine textures. You blend these things together and it creates a little bit of perceived chaos, but it gives a lot visually for us to look at. It stimulates your brain to pick out and look for patterns and shapes and colors. Where in these static landscapes, you don't have that diversity. Your mind just looks at a simple monoculture. So I don't think it's as engaging, and it doesn't touch your spirit in the same way that seeing a diverse set of plantings and plants engages you with.